I am a fine and commercial artist. And that came as a result of need. I went to school for fine art. I got my degree at Seton, my undergraduate degree at Seton Hall in fine art, and started a graduate program at Rutgers. However, my parents were not thrilled with that idea, and an opportunity came up for me to work in advertising in New York, and I was kind of coerced into doing that. And obviously, you know, this is a number of years ago. The opportunities to make money, to make a living as a fine artist were fewer. So it made sense to go into advertising, and I did. And so I've had some pretty substantial successes in both areas, because I never let my fine art work go. In fact, for many years as a commercial artist, I didn't care about it. I actually kind of hated it, and I just did it because I had to. So I was showing in New York, I was exhibiting with Keith Haring and all of these people on the Lower East Side when that was just a burgeoning space, while I was doing commercial design, mostly around packaging. I worked for Jordache Jeans for a long time, doing advertising for them, worked for Armani, doing fragrance packaging for them on the commercial side, and then on the fine art side, I was doing a number of things that kept me going, including founding a couple art groups. I was one of the founding members and the final president of the Tweed Art Group here in Plainfield, which goes back a very long time. On the board of the Watchung Art Center and the VP of Visual Arts Programming for the Watchung Art Center. I've curated probably 50 shows all over the place, and I've shown my own work in a variety of places. Including, fortunately, was included in a portrait show at the Louvre in Paris in 2015. So I have some nice credibility on both sides, which it has not been an easy balance, but it is a necessity as an artist. If you want to succeed, you have to find a way to make that work for you. And there are a lot of different ways. You shouldn't rule something out. So this was one of the two pieces that was shown in the Louvre in 2015. It's a photograph. I am not a photographer. And this was a proof to me as an individual, as an artist, that sometimes just because you establish an idea of who you should be, doesn't necessarily mean that's the thing for you. I had stopped painting because I was frustrated with my painting after painting for many years. I stopped completely for about 8 years and just put it aside while I just worked, had my normal job. And when I realized that I couldn't stop producing, so I started back at photography because I had no vested interest in it. I didn't care what the outcome was. And through a series of photographic things that I started working on, I decided, somebody came up to me and said, we want to do an exhibit about this concept of sticks and stones, right? The famous nursery rhyme or whatever you want to call it. And this idea came into my head because of personal things that had happened to me as a young person, to how to express that idea. And so I invited people into the studio. I set up a white backdrop just out of some sheet, and I asked people to talk to me about what they were experiencing or what they had experienced as children that were negative. And while they were sitting there, I wrote those words on their faces. So each person told me what their experiences were like. I had the camera going, and I wrote on them what the words were that they were expressing. And the pictures were very powerful, both for the people who had their portrait taken, and then very successful for me. Not purchase successful, which is quite an interesting distinction here, because that's really the focus of today's talk, right? The distinction between creativity and purchasability, right? No one bought the work, but I have shown the work in so many places because it resonates with people. To most of the people who are in the portrait said to me, I wouldn't have that hanging in my own home because it represents to them some of the things that they don't like about their own life experience. But it was still a very important thing for me to do. It was important because I got the chance to express something that I thought was valuable, and because it gave me an opportunity to show institutions what I was doing in a way that was a little different, a little more unusual, and that people got onto. It resonated, and that's a key aspect. Commercial success, because I'm going to try to talk a little bit about both, Rolling forward through my advertising years, I ended up doing work for AT&T. When the internet first started, when Netscape was the only browser that existed, they hired me to do design work for browsers, for courseware online that nobody even understood how to use it. So I had to figure out how to take my traditional skills and apply them to that. And over the course of a number of years did so, so much so that I'm recognized in this particular book for the work that I did in getting people to understand how to use e-learning and how e-learning online could, online learning could benefit people by design. How design is an important aspect of all online interaction. The whole idea now of user interface design, user experience design came out of this kind of work. So, enough about me. If you have any questions about me, we can talk more at the end. These are the couple of things that I just want to try to run through quickly. Maybe we don't get to all of them, but we'll try. Keys to success as an artist. How do you define success? Does marketing matter? What are the ways in which artists gain reputation? Some of the things you can do toward achieving your goals as an artist, and the importance of collectors, sponsors, and supporters, otherwise known as champions. So, right out of the gate, I'm going to tell you, as any artist, I don't care what side of the fence you are on, you need these 4 things. You have to be passionate about being an artist. You can be the most commercial artist in the world, which to some degree ends up in the field of engineering, where so much of what you do is proscribed by the limitations that you have on the engineering side. But if you're not passionate about it, you are not going to like that job, right? On anything on the fine side, you must be passionate about that. They're like acting, like you're talking about video work, there's so much competition on every level that if you're not passionate about it, you're going to get beaten down as a result of all the things you have to do. I think this is true in any career. And again, that's kind of my focus, is how to really look at your work and figure out how you fit in it from a career perspective. You have to also have talent. And that's something you decide for yourself. No one else should decide that for you. If you are committed to the work that you're doing, whatever it is, so that you will fight for it, then you have talent. Talent is a very vague term. And we can look at lots of different experiences, lots of different examples of people that we may admire as artists. That doesn't mean that we have to look like them. And in fact, it's a negative to be an artist whose work looks exactly like the work of someone else. And that's in any field. As a designer, as a videographer, as a fine artist, if you paint precise duplications or close to precise duplications of another artist, it doesn't make you anything more than a copier. There is valuable lessons in doing that, but there's not valuable, you're not going to gain a market, you're not going to gain a reputation by doing that. You are just going to be seen as a copier. You have to stay committed to it. My life as a visual artist and a commercial artist goes a very long time at this point. And you can't, if you stop, and my 8-year trough was an example to me, you lose a lot of momentum. People recognize you for who you are and how you identify yourself. If you go out there and, like as I did, I was like, I'm not an artist anymore. People will believe you. And then when you try to tell them all over again, I'm an artist, guess what? They're like, no, you're not. You said for the last 8 years you're not an artist, so you're not an artist. You have to start all over. And that's, you lose a lot of time and a lot of seriousness because we create our identity. Your ability to be an artist is created by how much you believe in yourself as an artist. And determination. No matter how many times people knock you down, you don't get the grant you're looking for, you don't get the job you're looking for, the project doesn't come out the way you want it, you have to move on to the next one, regardless. And you have to move on to the next one with the same commitment that you had with the prior ones. You can't, if you start down the slope of, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to get there, no one's ever going to recognize me, you will end up in that place because it's what you're telling yourself, and we are who we make ourselves to be. So you literally have to just learn the lessons from each situation, set it aside, and move forward.